Good evening everyone, I am Pete, also known as Risk for Rewards on Twitter, currently just under 10,000 followers, got only about 250 on YouTube, but you can find my content on either of those two. We're going to go straight into it, previewing the Coral Eclipse for Saturday. Disappointing there's only 6 runners now, which has affected the race massively in the way that we seem to have another race with a lack of pace. Everyone used to moan about Aidan O'Brien running 3 or 4 horses and 1 or 2 would be pacemakers. And now Aidan O'Brien can't find a horse good enough to even run in the race, let alone be a pacemaker for anyone. So we're really struggling with pace again, and it almost looks a bit like Ascot again when we're lining up with Bay Bridge, and the fact that you've got State of Rest, who no one knew was going to make the pace until obviously the race went off. It's going to be very similar on Saturday because none of these are known for making the pace, but one of them's going to have to grab the bull by the horns. Unless they all just want to dawdle around, then it won't suit most of them. So from the outside in, we'll start with Lord North, brilliant horse, Group 1 winner. Obviously, don't need to talk about the Dettori situation. James Doyle, more than adequate. Not really sure how this is going to suit him. And he likes the pace to quicken off it because he's got a turn of foot. And unless a horse really grabs it and goes for it, I'm not sure how that will suit. So he's priced accordingly. He'd be overpriced if you knew there was going to be pace in the race, but we don't know that currently. Mishrif, I've fallen out of love with. Anyone who follows me on Twitter will see that I've lost my time for him. Ever since the Champions Stakes last year, he went in there and he looked like he was going to be a world beater. He is 0 for 2 at Ascot. It's just not been his track regardless. So obviously coming here to Sandown, he could fare better. But he's just a horse that he seems to do it well internationally. But since those internationals, he's just not really been that great here. Could he win? Of course he could. Any of these 6 could. It's a proper horse, but you have to narrow him down, and he's got more chinks than many. And obviously, he's not really performed to this level in this country most recently. Next on, we've got Alan Kerr. Alan Kerr has obviously got the form with State of Rest, having beaten him in the Tattersalls Gold Cup over in Ireland. It was a very messy race that day, with Alan Kerr getting up on the line under a brilliant Tom Marquand ride. State of Rest didn't get the run of the race that day. So on collateral, State of Rest obviously beat Bay Bridge quite well at Ascot, but State of Rest did get the run of the race that day and just quickened from the front. It was a messy race that day at Ascot, but they made no mistake with State of Rest. So Alan Kerr technically will be there or thereabouts with Bay Bridge if you're going on collateral form. Could be the one that's underrated currently at the prices, about 8 to 1, and he could be the one that goes to make it because they know he stays further, but he also has a tendency where he can run a bit free, so it'd be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, Haggis and Marquand, they've had a 4-timer today, and the yard's on fire. So you know the horse is going to go there with it and give it the best chance that it can. And then on to Bay Bridge, the Ascot banker, the one that we all thought was going to be the next Group 1 superstar. And to be honest, I haven't written him off yet. I think his Sandown performance, where he beat Mustadaf in second, as if he was standing still like he was a handicapper. Mustadaf obviously then came second behind Broome in the Hardwick, beating Hurricane Lane, albeit he could have been unfit on the day. But I'm not saying that form's still there. That was, it was only, I think it was a Group 3 one at Sandown, the Brigadier Gerard. But he's still got the potential to be a top level horse. And I've not given up on him yet. That last race was easy to forgive because I think that Ryan Moore got taught a lesson there by Shane Cross with on State of Rest, and then he used that exact ride on Broome against Hurricane Lane on the Saturday. He just went off the front and he just absolutely smashed them to bits, and I think that's what happened to Bay Bridge. I think Bay Bridge will also benefit if there's a bit of softer in the ground. I don't think he wants it rattling fast. He's more of a slow going into the pace rather than like a turn of foot like Lord North. So again, he's another who his race is going to depend on either him making it, potentially, or there being a pace that he can sit prominent on the back of. And then we've got the 2 youngsters, and they have a massive advantage in the fact they get £10 because their ratings, official ratings, they're Verdani and Native Trail are both rated higher than Lord North, Alan Kerr and Bay Bridge. So the only one rated higher is Mishrif, and I don't fancy him at all. So technically, the fact that they're already rated higher, they've got RPRs there and thereabouts with the others, and they're getting £10 from the field. So that is a ginormous advantage. Native Trail, a lot of people have fallen out of love with. I haven't fallen out of love with Native Trail at all. I thought his people moaning about he's come second in the English Guineas and he's won the Irish Guineas. People saying, "Oh, it wasn't that great a performance," and all. You can only beat what's put in front of you. He's not a horse that's going to go and set the track on fire. He's just a horse that does what he needs to do. He was brilliant in the 2,000 Guineas over here behind Caribus, and they say possibly the track beat him. I'm just not sure 100% on the 10 furlongs. It could work. And he could be as good at it, but I just think he'd been cherry ripe for those 2 Guineas. He's had a hard enough start to the season, and yeah, I'm happy to take him on. Verdani is very, very difficult to oppose, but also doesn't have the form to be the price that he is currently. I mean, 6-4 is not a price that. I mean, yeah, okay, you're out of Churchill, so obviously the miler pedigree. But when stepped up over in France for their derby, he was electric. And yeah, he beat very good horses but El Bodegon, yeah, I know he's a Group 1 winner, but he's not anything special, and he hasn't exactly set the world alight this season. And then in third you have Modern Games. And Modern Games is a good horse, but he was drawn very wide that day, and they also stated before the race even started that it was a softer ground than they would have wanted out there. So and I think if you said to Appleby who's better out of Modern Games and Native Trail, I don't think, and the same with Caribus, I don't think there'd be any sort of competition for that. They'd be more than, I know obviously different trips, different points, but I think Verdani has got it to prove, but at the same time would be the most likely winner with the weight allowance. I prefer Verdani over Native Trail, despite Native Trail having the more substantive form. So on conclusion, to sum this up, I think if it was level weights, Bay Bridge would be a solid bet for me, but it's not level weights. So whilst I respect the 2 youngsters and they could well win, 6-4 is too short for me on Verdani, and I'm happy to stick with Bay Bridge. 4-1 current price. I have a feeling that the horse is better than what we've seen so far. I've got no idea whether we're going to be able to see it again, because this could turn into a mess again. But I think you'll see a Bay Bridge that will be a lot more prominent. And the more rain that falls, just to get it into even just a little bit of soft or take away the firmness, I think he'll be there or thereabouts. I'll be disappointed if he's not. But at the same time, anything could win this race. It's a brilliant race. But it's Bay Bridge for me. And hopefully at least one of these turns out to be a star going forward, ready for big races like the Arc.